Amidst the never-ending attacks and counterattacks, Freddie and Emile hunted the elusive Baron and his regiment in Ypres. On April 22nd, 1915, chlorine gas was used for the first time by the Germans.
What? Go! Yes.
Canadian Identification Tag. At the start of the war, Canadian identification tags were formed by a large aluminium disc, which was because they were an emergency issue and had a unique shape. They were soon replaced by standard British tags, as were those of all British Empire forces. The Battle of Ypres. Ypres was a key strategic town in Belgium, especially for the British. It was the gateway to the north and thus to Britain. Canadian troops were deployed in the front line, and they proved their endurance and dependability in combat to the Allies. 6,000 Canadian lives were lost in the battle in April 1915. First gas attack. On April 22, 1915, at Ypres came the first gas attack in history. 5,730 cylinders of chlorine were opened by the Germans in favourable winds. Chlorine gas caused burns to the eyes, skin and lungs, even through clothes and rubber boots. The effects were devastating. The only defence found by the Canadians was to cover their noses with a urine-soaked handkerchief. Zeppelin bombardment. Zeppelins were invented in 1900 by the German Count von Zeppelin, but the very first long-distance flight didn't take place until 1908. Zeppelins weren't much slower than the aircraft of the period, and were first used in reconnaissance. They could also fly at higher altitudes, so from 1915 they were used to bomb civilians in London and Paris. The Dogs of War. It is estimated that by 1918 the Germans had employed 30,000 dogs while the Allies employed 20,000. Dogs were recruited from dog pounds and the police force, while many families also enlisted their pets. Dogs had a number of roles, as sentries and scouts, in postal liaison and equipment transport, in locating casualties and explosives, and as mascots. The main breeds deployed were German Shepherds, Doberman Pinschers, and Bouviers. Urine-soaked cloth. The only defense against a gas attack before masks were introduced was to cover the nose with a urine-soaked handkerchief. Urine reacts with chlorine directly in the handkerchief to form less noxious products, limiting the effect. It was not the most hygienic solution, but it was always better than a lungful of hydrochloric acid.
What? Allez. Hey. What? What? Hey, what? 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 Allez. Allez. Hey, what? What? Ah. Vas-y. Allez. Yeah. Come on, man. Emil, let's go. Emil, let's go. What? What?
Letter from a Canadian soldier. 21st of April 1915. Dear parents, we are in Belgium, a truly flat land that reminds me of our Winnipeg plains. The big difference is that it's so damp here, which makes the cold even colder. The guys and I are going to make you proud of us. The Canadians will be the big heroes of this war. I'll write again soon. Stephen.
Bon chien.
Gas canister deployment strategy. Gas canister deployment strategies were simple, but they did depend on the weather, especially on winds. Gas use requires a constant downwind towards enemy lines to avoid the gas returning to its sender. Any battle plans were therefore dependent on the weather forecast. Belgian shako. The Belgian Army's distinctive shako resembled a top hat with a rim replaced by a visor. The shako was replaced by the Ypres cap, a soft cap with flaps that could be pulled down over the ears. The cap was called the Ypres because Belgian soldiers massed behind the river Ypres to hold off the German advance.
Thank you, my friend. Give you in. Don't worry.
Pocket watch. Time was an important factor in soldiers' lives, and military strategies for attacks and rolling barrages were based on tight chronological synchronicity. Pocket watches were the only way to tell the time.